The movie begins in a countryside house where geologist Abby lives with her older sister, Beth. Their mother has recently died, and the sisters are trying to comfort each other while dealing with grief. Things get worse when Beth is diagnosed with late-stage leukemia. The doctors say nothing can be done, but Abby refuses to give up. She hears about a foreign clinic that uses risky treatments and decides to send Beth there. To pay for it, Abby accepts a very dangerous job. Later, Abby travels to the Georgian Caucasus near the Russian border. She is hired by a private mining company to look for uranium. Her father disapproves, saying she could have a much better career, but Abby is desperate to save her sister. She even asks her boss for money in advance, but he refuses. She will only be paid if she finds uranium. Abby and her partner, Sergei, search for hours without success. They are told to stay in safe areas, but Abby insists on going into the forest. Sergei warns her it's risky, but Abby takes his gun and tells him to leave. Creepy noises in the woods make Abby nervous at first, but eventually, she calms down when she finds a very strange piece of black rock. Back at headquarters, Abby runs a series of tests and notices that the rock's temperature is unusually high, though she's still unable to identify it. Her excitement is cut short when her father calls to tell her he's pulling Beth out of the clinic and bringing her home to die peacefully among loved ones. Abby strongly disagrees and promises to come home to take care of everything herself. At that moment, the building shakes and the lights flicker. Once it passes, Abby packs up and asks Sergei to drive her to the airport. She boards a helicopter and chats with the pilots, who mention they'll fly near the border just to remind the Russians who the valley belongs to. After a few hours in the air, Abby is shocked to see birds flying at such high altitude. But when the helicopter changes course, she realizes they aren't birds at all. A mysterious black shadow, crackling with energy, closes in. The pilot says it's getting closer, just as the helicopter begins to shake. The black mass surrounds the windows before flying away, but the damage is done. The system shut down, including the radio. They should land immediately, but then the engine fails. Abby secures her seatbelt as the helicopter plummets, struggling to breathe in the thinning air. She focuses on her breathing and thinks of her sister, closing her eyes to block out the sight of the impending crash into the mountains. While unconscious, Abby dreams of telling her father not to do anything drastic and promising Beth she'll return soon. Eventually, she wakes up bleeding inside the wreckage and sees part of the chopper on fire. To make matters worse, one pilot is dead. Abby checks on the other, bandages his wounds, and tells him to apply pressure. She goes outside to yell for help, but no one answers. Back inside, the injured pilot explains how to use the emergency radio, but despite multiple attempts, no one responds. Abby consults a map and realizes the closest road is 60 kilometers to the south. She lights a large fire using broken boxes, hoping it will be seen from afar. The next morning, Abby finds out the second pilot is dead. Scared and crying, she realizes she is completely alone. While resting in the wrecked helicopter, she dreams of her sick sister Beth and wakes up shaken. Stepping outside, she sees her fire has gone out. Abby refuses to give up, so she gathers supplies, including a gun, a flare, and warm clothes, then sets off with a compass toward the south road. Just as she leaves, she hears static from a radio on the dead pilot's belt. The battery dies, but she finds the charger and sets it up. When the radio works again, she contacts an American pilot named John, who is also trapped after a crash. He warns her it's dangerous to come, but she insists on trying to find him for help. Along the way, Abby struggles through forests, snow, and mountains. She remembers Beth telling her to move on, but Abby refuses. Nobody else is fighting for Beth. Cold and exhausted, Abby discovers the strange black rock she carries gives off warmth, and later even helps her climb a mountain. At the top, she sees a shadow flying in the sky and lights from a military base. Hoping to get noticed, she builds a fire and a signal. John warns her that Russians control the area and will kill her if they see it. Hurt and tired of his scolding, she shuts off the radio. Soon, Abby injures her leg and hides in an abandoned house. Inside, she finds supplies, bandages herself, and dreams of Beth again. The next day, a soldier almost finds her. She panics and shoots him in the leg during a struggle. Searching his bag, she discovers he also carries a black rock. Then John's voice comes through the soldier's radio, revealing a shocking truth. John was never real, just a trick from the mysterious voice connected to the rock. Abby helps the soldier, whose name is John, and together they move through the snow. She realizes the rock caused the crash and the strange signals, so she throws it away in anger. Crossing a frozen lake, the ice breaks, and Abby falls into freezing water. After a painful struggle, she pulls herself out, shivering but alive. The wind picks up, and visibility drops. She keeps shouting for help as she pushes forward. Eventually, she reaches the edge of a forest, finding a cigarette the soldier had left behind. Exhausted, she removes her wet clothes and crawls into a sleeping bag to regain warmth. At that moment, John's voice reappears on the radio, saying the same thing happened to him long ago. Enraged, Abby throws the radio away, but she still hears his voice, telling the story of watching his crew die and how he survived by finding, quote, deliverance. Abby falls asleep and dreams again of Beth. She wakes when she hears a helicopter and runs through the forest, desperately waving to be seen. But the pilots can't spot her, and the chopper leaves. Weak from the cold, Abby collapses, hearing Beth's voice urging her to come home. She passes out and tumbles into a hidden cave, her body crashing against the rocks before landing in a shallow pool. Floating beside her is John's rotting corpse, covered in chunks of the black rock. The pool is filled with the same substance, which begins to creep toward her. This rock is actually a living entity that has been using human voices to lure survivors, just as it trapped John 65 years ago. When Abby wakes, she finds herself on solid ground, surrounded by floating stones. The entity, speaking in John's voice, congratulates her for making it, saying it feared she would end up like the others. Abby accuses it of causing the crashes and demands to know why it lured her here, but the entity claims her choices led her here. The floating rocks form half of a human body, as the voice explains that John agreed to become its occupant to survive, and Abby is being offered the same chance. She refuses, saying she just wants to go home. The voice replies, "You're already home," as Beth's house materializes around her. An invisible force pushes her inside. She sees piles of black rocks everywhere. The entity tempts her, saying she's afraid of death and desperate to escape it. In one room, she finds Beth alive and healthy, reaching out for her hand. For a moment, Abby embraces her, crying with relief. But when she glimpses the hospital, she realizes it's all an illusion. Abby accepts that she must let Beth go. She apologizes for pushing her too hard and says a final goodbye. When the entity begs her to stay, Abby refuses, saying she has learned that without death, there is no life. She opens the door, steps into the snowstorm, and cries for help. Suddenly, Abby wakes up in her sleeping bag and remembers the flare. She lights it, and a helicopter finally rescues her. Abby spends 2 days recovering in the hospital. When she wakes again, she finds herself in Sergei's apartment with his grandmother. Sergei tells her to rest, but she insists on going home, so he drives her to the airport. Later, Abby and her father visit Beth, who is now very weak and bedridden under a nurse's care. Knowing the end is near, Abby and her father step outside to cry before going back in. That evening, the nurse says it's time. Abby and her father sit with Beth, holding her hand as she peacefully passes away. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.